If you're curious about Surfer SEO, it's probably because you've heard that it's designed to help you optimize pages and blog posts on your website to help you rank better in the search engines. So is it all a hype or is it true? I'm Natalie Lussier, founder of Access Ally, which is a WordPress-based solution for creating online courses, memberships, and communities all on your terms. So today I'm talking about Surfer SEO because it is a tool that we've personally been using for many, many months now, and it has helped us create great content and also rank it properly in the search engine. So I'm going to show you some actual examples as well as a quick tutorial of Surfer SEO so you can decide if it's the kind of tool that you want to add to your tech tool stack or not. Now, the first thing that you need to know about Surfer SEO is that it is a tool, which means that you still need to be in the driver's seat and make decisions based on the recommendations that it gives you. So there are a couple of different parts of Surfer SEO. So there's the editor and there's the keyword research part. There's also the part that is called Grow Flow, which gives you suggestions on how to interlink and make other updates to your site, as well as some recommendations for topics of what to write about in your blog or website. Now, here's the thing. All of these recommendations should be taken with a grain of salt, because at the end of the day, you should know your audience and the types of people that you want to attract to your website. So for example, sometimes we have suggestions from Surfer SEO that just don't make sense. And the great thing is you don't have to follow all of them. Sometimes they'll recommend that you add 50 images to a blog post, or that you write about a certain angle of a topic that just really doesn't land with your audience or with how you feel about things and how you see your industry. So definitely use it as a tool, as a support for what you plan to do, but don't let it be the driver. You want to stay in the driver's seat when it comes to Surfer SEO, or really any other tool that gives you recommendations like that online. So how does Surfer SEO actually work? It looks at the top ranking results for the keywords that you're trying to aim for, and then it finds out what they have in common. It analyzes the key components, and then it suggests that you do something similar or better than what's already been done. Now, this is awesome because you don't have to be the one doing all the analysis, and this is all done through the software. So you know exactly how many words to write, what types of words to include to make sure that the search engines know what you're writing about and what the topic of your article really is. And then it also gives you other suggestions, like how to link things in your website so that you're telling the search engines that these pages are related and it makes sense for them to rank together, for example. Now, the downside of analyzing what works for a particular topic is that you're always going to be recommended to do essentially the same thing but better. And there's only so far you can go. So what I highly recommend is to also come up with different angles and different topics that maybe aren't being covered at all in the search engines. And that's because this is where the future really is. By creating these new areas and these new topics or angles for topics, you can actually show up in the search engines without competing with what's already there. And there are rumblings in Google land that this is coming on the horizon. So if people have already looked at some of the top articles, then maybe the next time they search for your topic, you're gonna come up, even though you're not gonna come up number one all the time. And that helps Google give the best results to people who are looking for a more broad view on your topic, as opposed to just one way of looking at things in your keyword area. Now let's dive into the Surfer SEO tutorial. Before we get into the Surfer SEO tutorial, let's take a quick tour of the Surfer website just so you can get an idea of what it is and how it works. So it works in all languages. It uses all kinds of AI tools to really make sure that you have the right keywords and the right topic and all of that stuff so that you really will rank beautifully with Google. So it does have some great integrations as well. And I think that makes it that much better if you're going to be using it with WordPress, for example, or with Jasper AI, which I'll show you as well how that integrates. So let's talk about pricing. So there are different prices for different types of content that you have going on, how much you're writing, for example. So most people will probably be able to get away with basic because you're able to focus on one website and at least have 10 articles per month or 20 pages per month. You might also want to upgrade to Pro if you have multiple websites or if you're writing a whole lot per month. We've found that basic is great. I've also gotten some bonus things just for being a customer, and they've had different sales. So you never know when you might be able to get some of those extras. So as you can see here, there are several tools within Surfer SEO that you can choose from. I think the most important and useful one is the content editor, because that is for writing brand new content. content. The audit tool is also very useful because it lets you see existing pages and how to improve them. The content planner is where you go to get inspiration and to basically let Surfer SEO tell you what to focus on. And then you've also got the analyzer and the keyword research, which is also very useful. Another thing that Surfer SEO recently added is what's called Grow Flow, and this is basically giving you tasks that you should do every week to either interlink or add certain missing keywords to your content. And then it also recommends some articles that you should probably write with some keywords, and so it will help you decide what to focus on. Now, like I said, this is where you need to sometimes be the person in the driver's seat. So sometimes you might say, okay, membership club might not be something that works for the Access Ally course and membership solution, so maybe I would shuffle the topic and get a different recommendation. So as you can see here, it has ways to get interlinks, to see which articles you have in progress, and then it recommends different things like adding certain keywords. So you can see we've gotten quite a few impressions and clicks from following the tasks that Surfer SEO recommended for us. So you can kind of take a look at the report and see which pages I've been updating and making updates to. So now I'm gonna take a look at one of the articles that we wrote using the content editor and what score we got, and then we'll take a look and see if it's actually ranking properly. So here I have one called How to Create a Website Portal. That's the keyword. Okay, so I've opened up a brand new incognito window here and typed in how to create a portal website in Google, and then I'm just gonna go ahead and take a look at the results here. So because I'm using an incognito window, it is not going to show my own website or websites I've been to more prominently, but you can see here that the article that we published on how to create a portal website is here. I think it's, okay, so we've got one. So this is the schema one that they pull up and that shows up first. You've got some videos from YouTube here. So obviously making a YouTube video on this topic would probably help us show up too. And then we've got 1, 2, 3. So this is the 4th or 5th item on Google here. And so this was just following the suggestions inside of Surfer SEO and putting the right keywords and the right amount of images. And so you can take a look here at the article on the website and you can kind of see what it's like. You know, we've got some images and some videos and all kinds of things. So you can see this worked pretty well for this piece of content. And at this point, I would probably want to create more links to it or do other things to kind of boost it up so it does go higher on this page. But this was just from following the suggestions that Surfer SEO gave me. And so we've got to 82. If we go higher on that, it will be even better. But let's go ahead and create a brand new one because, you know, it just makes sense to see an example. So I'm gonna go ahead and use Surfer SEO review as my keyword just because, you know, why not go meta and talk about what I'm talking about in this video, but you'll be able to see exactly what I mean. So right now it's creating my content editor and you can see I have 50 and it resets every month. Different plans will have different amounts. I think I have a slightly higher amount just based on when I signed up and how long I've been a customer and different deals that they've had. But you can see here that you can also add tags. So if you're working as part of a team or you want to split them off, because you can have an account and then just share a link to a content editor to someone else on your team or to maybe a virtual assistant or someone else that you want them to optimize your content for. So here we're going to go ahead and load the content editor. And so you can see here, this is how everything works in Surfer is using this sidebar area. So you can really want to get up to at least, you know, 66, I think is where they set the bar of what you want to have. And you can see what things they're comparing to and kind of what keywords they would suggest that you include inside of your article. So you don't have to include 100% of them. Obviously, it may not be possible to do. And then you can also see here an outline that Surfer is going to generate. So this is going to look at, you know, other pages for this keyword and what they actually cover. So you can also start to use the topics and questions. So if you wanted to also include these, you know, you could just plop these in here, and maybe these would not be bullet points, but maybe they become H2 headings, for example. And you can see just by including these topics and questions, our number just jumped up to 21. But you can come in here and you can get ideas for titles. You can also get ideas for other headings. So this is cool. You can kind of think about, you know, what else people might be looking for. So is Surfer free, but maybe also, you know, Surfer SEO pricing. So maybe that's something else that you would get ideas for. So this is basically using the other pages that are currently ranking. And you can see these are the ones that were down here as well. And you can also click on the brief. So if you want to add other notes, you can go ahead and add that. These are the pages that are currently ranking. And so what I like to do here is under this little area, you can click through and see what pages are currently ranking. And you can also turn on and off if you want to compare to the other pages. So you can see the content score of the pages that are currently ranking, and then also the authority of this domain or this website. So it tells you a little bit of how hard it's going to be to beat this particular piece of content. And then, let's say that this is a great one, so you would maybe want to include it. That might give you a little bit more insight on this particular one. But I think they really use the ones that have high scores to kind of guide you in the right direction based on, the AI and the artificial intelligence search that it does and all the stuff that it knows about it. And then you can also decide, this is pretty much the average that it wants you to use for the number of words, number of headings, paragraphs, and images. And you might decide, for this particular one, I don't think I'm going to need 39 images. And keep in mind, this is also all the other images on the page. So it could also be like header images and other things. So it doesn't all have to be within the body of your blog post, for example. And then these are the terms again that Surfer SEO thinks will really make a big difference for you. And then you can kind of come in and decide if you want to add more or remove them. And then you can come in here and see those topics. So again, this is from Google. So people also ask is when people are typing this into Google, they might also ask these other questions. So these are great ones to include. And then these are from competitors. So this tells you a little bit more like the titles and the topics that competitors have used when they're creating these types of articles. And then this is notes. So again, this is great if you are handing this off to someone else to work on, whether it's something that you write the first draft for and then someone else does the optimization, or someone writes the first draft and uses this to kind of guide their draft, and then you do the final pass. It's up to you, but this is great for having notes. So again, we've already gotten up to 21, and that was just from our titles or subtitles. So you can go ahead and, start writing, and as you write, you'll see, paragraphs and numbers and images go up. But this is where you want to start to think about these keywords when you're writing. So when you're writing, you might say, if you're looking for an SEO tool, and this is great because Surfer SEO already starts to suggest things. So you can see it already filled in SEO tools, but for now I'm going to keep it to singular just because that's what I had in mind. But that's also, you can see, increase this currently used one time. So you can see this is how you want to make this happen. Then you'll enjoy the review. So you can see here, now we're up to 2 out of this one. And so you would just keep writing and just try to fit some of these keywords in. So maybe under here, I would say concerns, cost. Oh, and this one actually has a space. So I'm looking for this particular one. So you can see you might have sometimes recommendations where they spell things differently. They have a dash or a space or a different way of spelling things. And that also is helpful for search engines because sometimes people type things differently. So it might not be the most cohesive or the most consistent way of typing things if you have a specific keyword in mind, but this will give you really great results in the search engine. So, sometimes our super specific anal side needs to kind of take a backseat on some of these things. But this is where you can go and get started to start optimizing a page or a post. So this is great. It is super, super helpful. And once you get a little bit higher, into the 60s or 70s or 80s, you'll really start to see the results when you publish this to your blog or your website. So this is the content editor. We already looked at GrowFlow for an audit. This is super helpful. So I'm just going to go ahead and show you an existing one. So we have a feature in Access Ally called bulk course enrollment. So I last ran this in April. So I'm going to run it again. And basically the feature is just that if you have an online course and you want to sell it to a team or a corporation or a family where somebody can then add team members that they can basically manage their own learning, and just kind of hand it off, then this is the bulk course enrollment concept. And so other people use this term, and I'm trying to rank our feature page for it. So you can see here, content score. So this is the exact same thing that we were looking at in the content editor, but it's just comparing it to the other pages right now. You can see right now I'm number 5 in Google for this keyword. So pretty cool. My score is pretty high. But now it's not just about the score. You can also see where some of the things might be missing. So I don't have any backlinks from Wikipedia, Reddit, WikiHow, Stack Overflow, or Moodle. And so these are the ones that our competitors are getting backlinks from. So the reason mine might not be ranking as high is because I'm missing some of these backlinks. So this is where it gives you that bigger picture that's not just the on-site optimization, but also other things you can do to improve things. Now, showing internal links. So basically, if you have related pages to this topic, then it makes sense to link this page. So here, I have this blog post, how to sell training to companies. This is exactly what, this feature does. So it just makes sense to link it from there. And then some of our other comparison pages and feature pages, so you can kind of see what's linking to what. And then here again, it's kind of the same thing where you can see the keywords, you can see how many of them I should probably have on this page. And again, grain of salt, sometimes it does make sense to include them, but you don't want it to sound not human, right? So sometimes having, click and roll users might be better on a tutorial page than on a feature page on our website. So that's why I don't have a ton of this particular one. And so it also shows you word count. So, I have slightly more words than they recommend. I could remove some and see if that improves it. But again, I'm trying to convey the value of the feature to our potential customers. So grain of salt, in some cases, it makes sense to remove words or add more words. Sometimes it doesn't. And so you can see it has a little bit more functionality and things that they recommend for page structures and titles and meta and load time as well for the website. So this is the audit, and I highly, highly recommend this if you have existing content that's just not ranking well. You can see, where does the page rank? We can also change competitors if I don't want to compare. So for example, you can see it's removing Thinkific and Moodle because those are our competitors. So I find that interesting that we're not using those. Maybe we should use Thinkific and see how we can do better than them on that one. But yeah, so that is the auditor. So here under the content planner, you can put a keyword and you will get some ideas that are related to the keyword. So for example, I had a video and a blog post all about domain flipping. So these are all the other things that are related to domain flipping. In my case, it doesn't make sense to build out a whole bunch of pages or blog posts related to this, but you can see how if you wanted to really be known for a specific topic, this will give us a cluster of multiple pieces of content related to this topic that will help us rank for this main keyword that might be really hard to rank for. And you can see here you have the little editor button. So every time you click on this, it will open up a brand new content editor so you can start writing a post that is related to that. You can also use the keyword research tool to get some more ideas for keywords. To be honest, I think that there are other ways to do keyword research too. So if this works, you can go ahead and create keyword research, get an idea of, search volume, but again, it may or may not be super accurate. I think that's always the case when it comes to keyword research and, the volume expectations that you should have. Sometimes you just have to go with the keyword, even if it doesn't have a huge number of search. So for example, for 40 people is a whole lot of work for this keyword and for such a low volume. However, it just made sense for me to do this and talk about the Free Ride Traveler because it's a tool that I really love and I just got so much out of it. So, sometimes you have to, again, use this as a guide, but also know that it is not the only way to go. So what I love about Surfer is that it does have a lot of training and a lot of tutorials and other things if you're not quite sure how to get started, but I feel like I've covered the basics here. Now, the other piece of the puzzle is that you can connect Jasper AI with Jarvis. So if you were to use this content editor that you've created first using the content editor here in Surfer, then you can open it up into your Jasper AI editor. And obviously this article is not related to this, but if you can see, I start putting in Surfer SEO and you can start to see the updates here. So this is great if you're trying to have your content helped out through Jasper AI, and you also want to use Surfer SEO to make sure you have the best keywords. So that's the gist of Surfer SEO, but here's the thing. I think it becomes even more powerful when you pair it with Jasper AI, which is an AI writing tool that helps you get more words on the page faster. So if you're not familiar with Jasper AI, make sure to watch my other review video for Jasper right now.